Sup YouTube, it's your boy jxhunter back with another reaction. We are reacting to 3 scary deep web stories that actually happened. Yeah, this is by Chills. First time listening to this guy, or first time watching his videos. Let's see how this goes. It seems like some really creepy stuff. Chills, really? Chills. 3 scary deep web stories that actually happened. I'm not liking this at all. Okay, the original video will be down in the description. And the link to Chills' channel will be down in the description. So go check out his videos. Here we go. Clickety clack. Until it's back. Let's get this reaction started.
Hires a hitman. The deep web has a host of advertisements for all kinds of services, including hitman for hire. These anonymous online figures claim to be willing and able to locate anyone in the world and do them in for the right price with no questions asked. In 2012, one of the reporters from Vice was able to get in touch with an alleged contract killer to get a better feel for the deep web assassination process. Using encrypted emails, the reporter pretends to be the wife of an abusive ex-husband. She claims to want to have him killed so that she can gain full custody over their child. The killer does not make any judgments and simply says that he would be happy to help. He asks for money up front using bitcoins, which is the anonymous deep web currency of choice. Once a proper price is negotiated, the hitman next asks for a photograph of the target and the last known address. They talk about special requirements, which is a code word for either torture or any special circumstances under which the victim is supposed to die. The hitman says he can get results within 2 weeks. Vice decides to end the conversation then and there. Fortunately, the reporter used a picture of a deceased family member along with a fake address, so no one could really be harmed. They never did find out who they were speaking to. This report is just one of the many hitman services the deep web supposedly offers. Unfriendly Solution was another alleged hitman organization that was run by someone who claims to have been a hitman for 7 years. It was shut down in 2014, though it remains unclear if this was by the site's owner or the FBI. Other strange deep web hitman websites include the quote-unquote Charity for Donald Trump Assassination, which is allegedly accepting anonymous Bitcoin donations to kill the notorious presidential candidate. Perhaps one of the most infamous deep web hitman organizations ever was the Bisa Mafia, which claimed to be able to murder or otherwise severely injure any target on Earth with no delay. When the website was recently hacked, 38 different customers and 3,000 personal messages from a professional-sounding company were leaked to the public. One of the messages from a customer requests that the target gets beat up badly so there will be no bruises and some blood, but don't do anything else. Another simply says, "I want her dead," and goes on to discuss the price. The owner of the Bisa Mafia has released an official statement declaring that the website was fake. Whenever someone contacts them for a hit, the admin says they send all of the information straight to the local police department for review. However, many people believe that this is just a cover-up story, and that the Bisa Mafia was a legitimate murder for hire service. Others still believe that the Bisa Mafia is completely unstoppable and undoubtedly continues to operate to this very day. Either way, if this website was to be believed at all, then the way they recruit new hitmen is by having them commit a crime on video and submit it for the Mafia to review and approve of. Here's a video circulating on the internet of an alleged hitman applying to the website by setting fire to a car. The note in the beginning gives the website's address and some other information. Number 2, cannibalistic desires. Most people want to find someone that they can have children and grow old together with, but Armin Maives had a version of love that was much different. He was obsessed with the idea of eating another man's body. In 2001, the German could not contain himself anymore and took to the deep web to fulfill his darkest desires. He found an online forum morbidly named the Cannibal Cafe that seemed perfect to satisfy his urges. Although the disclaimer at the top of the website made it clear that the Cannibal Cafe was for fantasies involving consenting adults only, Armin was absolutely serious when he posted a short blurb outlining his particular tastes. It read, "Looking for a well-built 18 to 30-year-old to be slaughtered and then consumed." Imagine Armin's surprise when his inbox was instantly flooded with eager responses. He later estimates that as many as 200 different people replied back, all of them happily agreeing to be murdered and eaten. Figuring out who was serious and who was role-playing was a long and arduous process. It took Armin months to interview and sort out potential recruits. As you could expect, most of the replies were from people who wanted to act out an imaginary scenario online, but he narrowed it down to one single person in particular. Burned Brandeis had typed a short but intimate response on the Cannibal Cafe forums that instantly caught Armin's attention. "I am 36 years old," he wrote, 175 centimeters and weight 72 kilograms. He then added, "I hope you are really serious about it because I really want it." The two began messaging each other, and soon they had fallen in love with a passion and hunger that only two people with a fetish for cannibalism could share. Burned lived nearby, and they arranged a date and time that was most convenient for him to be killed and eaten. The two could not be happier about the fatal relationship and regularly bantered back and forth. On the day before their date, Burned wrote, quote-unquote, "I'll bring myself for breakfast," at which point Armin replied, "I'll have an appetite, rely on it." Burned arrived at Armin's farmland estate and entered a soundproofed slaughter room. Here, they discussed a mutual interest in computers while smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee. It was as if they were old friends and nothing out of the ordinary was about to happen. Burned suddenly began to have a change of heart and wanted to leave. He was persuaded at the last minute by his cannibal lover to stay. They had physical relations with each other, and then Byrne chased 20 sleeping pills with half a bottle of liquor and prepared to die. He passed out a short time later. Armin put Burned in a bathtub. He set up a camera and recorded every last moment as he calmly removed Burn's genitals and fried them to eat. He then read a Star Trek novel as he waited for Byrne to die in the bathtub, checking his friend's vital signs every 15 minutes to see if he had finally passed. When hours had passed by, he grew tired of waiting and stabbed his lover in the neck to hurry things up. Then he chopped him into pieces to save for later. Oh, and he buried the head in his garden too. Armin later recounted to authorities in detail how he prepared for his first act of cannibalism. First, he decorated the table with the nicest candles that he could find to set the right kind of mood. Then he bit into a cut of rump steak that had been taken directly from Byrne's back. He described the taste of Byrne to authorities as pork, yet much stronger. It was a taste he had yearned for over 40 years to taste. He had first thought of eating someone when he was a small child. Psychologists say that Armin and others like him sexualized cannibalism as a way to keep people in his life forever. As a child, Armin was abandoned by his entire family at a young age and grew very bitter as a result. This was around the time that he began to think about eating people for the very first time at just 8 years old. To put it very simply, eating people was Armin's way of making sure that he could never be left by them again.
That shit crazy.
You would think that Armin would have been satisfied for a while after this encounter, but he was not done yet at all. Emboldened by the relative ease of his recent kill, he quickly went back to the deep web to find more people to devour. Unsurprisingly, he eventually creeped out enough people with his confessions that one person alerted the authorities and explained to them that a man was going around openly admitting to murder and cannibalism online. When police traveled to Armin's farmhouse to investigate further, they could find nothing out of the ordinary at first. It seemed like he was going to get away with his crime. When they looked at his freezer, however, they saw that it had a false bottom. Underneath, there was a weird-looking meat inside. At first, Armin said that this was from a wild pig he had killed and slaughtered, but they quickly determined that this was human flesh. Byrne had been frozen and was being saved for later. At his trial, Armin said the only thing that he was guilty of was giving Byrne a nice death. In fact, since they were both consenting to do this, Armin argued that no murder had taken place at all. This was a mercy killing instead, his lawyers argued. They had burned on tape giving consent to be killed right up until the very last minute. His victim, if he could be called that, appeared at ease the entire time. A judge reluctantly agreed that this was technically not murder under the current laws, but rather simply a case where two lunatics accidentally discovered each other and followed through with a sick plan. Still, Armin was sentenced to a mere 8.5 years in prison at first. Later, he was put on a retrial and given a life sentence. Although this story happened 15 years ago, there are still plenty of websites centered around cannibalism. Some of them are how-to guides for preparing bodies to eat, and others offer advice for disposing of non-edible parts. Only one can imagine how many people actually put the advice to good use, and how many more Armins there are out there in the deep web looking to meet their burned. One last thing, in an ironic twist, news outlets have since reported that the cannibal has allegedly gone vegetarian.
People are sick. Wow. That shit crazy. Deep web. Don't go on the deep web, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen. Crazy shit. Hope you guys enjoyed this reaction. It wasn't much of a reaction. It's just like, wow. Man. Sick ass people. But this was 3 scary deep web stories that actually happened. The original video will be down in the description. Wow. Like, subscribe, baby, if you enjoyed the video. Road to 1,000.